Hello, I'm Charlie Brooker and you're watching 2010 Wipe, a programme all about things both real and televised that happened this year. And it was a year of confusing and unexpected events. Our bewildered nation experienced a general election which nobody won, had its holiday plans thwarted by an Icelandic volcano, and saw bemusing footage of revered author Salman Rushdie answering showbiz questions while playing ping pong on The One Show.
Strictly or X Factor?
X Factor.
EastEnders or Coronation Street? EastEnders, Coronation Street.
EastEnders.
Okay.
But we start, as years often do, with January. Yes, January, and just as predictable was the annual Winter is Cold story, in which Britain gets twinned with Narnia, and everyone gets a few days off work aside from a legion of unfortunate current affairs foot soldiers who had to stand outside like cheerless snowmen, gazing forlornly at the viewer like tramps staring through the window of an upmarket restaurant. Largely, though, it was an excuse to turn the news into a screensaver consisting of pretty snaps of Britain coated in magic pixie dust.
Mind you, anything looks nice with a bit of snow on it.
A gallows, a dead dog, Michael Gove. And thanks to the icy pavements, there was also plenty of hilarious slapstick on offer to liven up the news reports.
All they had to do was point a camera at a street and wait for some painful moments of comedy.
It's still dangerous for Dublin pedestrians.
But not everyone found it quite so funny.
The pavement should be gritted like the roads. People leave their cars at home because they can't get off their drives and so forth and so on. They must be gritted like the roads.
All right, Sniffleguts, cheer up.
But the roads weren't gritted enough either, thanks to an acute grit shortage which farted some much-needed drama into the story, which the news was quick to exaggerate.
Without grit, even Britain's largest and most important roadways will deteriorate into almost impassable death traps.
Throughout the snowfall, the news seemed keen to paint the whole thing as a nationwide disaster, although the public selfishly enjoyed it.
What about this travel chaos, the misery across Britain, snowbound Britain? Doesn't matter, does it?
Sticking with icy fun, there was the return of celebrity Fracture Factory Dancing on Ice. The appeal of Dancing on Ice is that it's effectively amateur Formula One. These people can't do this and one of them might die.
Or lose an index finger, I mean, that's the least they could do.
Someone who's presumably keen not to lose any other parts of her body was competitor Heather Mills.
Quite possibly a last-minute replacement for Radovan Karadzic.
Also in January, the nation was delighted by the launch of a wonderful new advertising campaign.
Can I have your car keys? It's incredible, really, to find yourself pining for the good old days of Howard. Who's supposed to listen to this station anyway? I would genuinely rather hear the 4-minute warning coming out of a radio than any of this shit.
Witnessing this bumwash, it's worth remembering that the Halifax part of HBOS was bailed out to the tune of £25 billion by the British taxpayer in 2009.
So basically what I'm saying is you funded that commercial, you bastard.
But not all TV was awful in 2010. Some of it was good. For instance, the reimagining of Sherlock Holmes, tucked away in the summer schedules when everyone is assumed to be outside having water fights, was fantastic. Gleefully written, carefully made, lovingly performed, and just the right side of panto.
I will stop you.
No, you won't.
Also, the US channel that brought you Mad Men served up some dead men instead in the shape of thunderous, doomy epic The Walking Dead, which featured more shuffling cadavers than the House of Lords. And fans of period costume were catered for with ITV's classy and imposing Downton Abbey.
Oh, Downton Abbey, that was quality. It was about these medieval people who lived in a house with antiques in it, but they didn't know they were antiques because it was the past, so they were still new. The house was massive, like you'd have to be like Trevor Nilsson or something to afford a house like that. And the people who owned it were like royalish, and they had these slaves who did all the DIY and baked eggs for them and stuff. It was beautifully shot, I reckon. They must have had at least 2 cameras filming that, with really good film in them. Sometimes the camera was still, and sometimes it'd move, so you never knew what was coming next. And you could hear what everyone was saying really clearly.
My first cousin and his son are almost certainly dead.
So they have really good microphones too. Anyway, I'll put it on and just like soak up the atmosphere. You know, like, you know, that's what the licence fee's all about.
In January, an earthquake struck Haiti, filling our screens with scenes of unimaginable suffering. The news reporters covering the story remained remarkably stoic in the face of events that would traumatise anyone.
Modern news always needs to fashion events into a compelling narrative, and the Haiti story was no different.
Once it had shown us distressing scenes of overrun hospitals and rubble for several nights, it needed a fresh angle.
And so began the search for signs of conflict.
Obviously, a massive aid effort organised at short notice in a country whose infrastructure has been destroyed is going to be a logistical nightmare, and there was much coverage criticising the slow distribution of aid. But one of the things holding up the aid was the fear of violence, which the news also seemed fascinated by. The moment footage of sporadic but inevitable scuffles arrived, it was seized on as evidence that the whole of Haiti was about to descend into barbarism.
But with aid struggling to get through, the country is spiralling out of control.
Haiti now is not just a tinderbox of simmering desperation and anxiety. It's possibly just one step from something very ugly indeed.
At times, the news seemed to frame the threat of violence as not just a possibility in any society that's hit by a massive disaster, but as something endemic to Haiti itself.
But there's this ugly undercurrent, sadly, within Haitian history, which has the ability to turn. It has the ability to quite literally fight for survival. Hence, you're seeing not just doctors and aid workers on the streets, but riot police too.
Now, the ugly undercurrent in Haitian history presumably distinguishes it from, say, Britain, a country whose own history consists of millennia of uninterrupted peace. Still, whatever, here's some angry foreigners.
What he says is hard to understand. It almost doesn't matter.
If you say so.
In February, the residents of Albert Square went live, and TV critic Grace Dent couldn't get enough of it.
I actually thought that the EastEnders 25th live anniversary was one of the best things on BBC One this year. I didn't actually give a damn about who'd killed Archie. I just wanted to see how much they could arse it up in the space of 28 minutes.
We saw Max Brannan dramatically stick his fingers down his throat. We saw supposedly dead Bradley's hands strangely moving.
I think the best part of it was probably Jack Brannan slurring and stuttering over his lines.
You got a motive, Bradley, all right? He found out what's it.
I didn't care who was involved. The biggest mystery was what the hell he was going on about.
You held the fact from the... Look, it's a motive. You've held it against the public. Look, we all have.
I think the lesson we learned from the live episode is that things aren't actually better live. I mean, they're exciting, but not for the right reasons. One of the best things on EastEnders this year was possibly Phil's descent into crack.
Bonnie, it's crack.
It was always a mystery to me why nobody had ended up on crack sooner. It's such a depressing place. I can't believe it's taken until 2010 to resort to it. The thing is with Phil's usage of crack was that he seemed to spend a lot of the time at a party completely off his head, listening to The Who. Phil's life was immeasurably lifted by using crack. I mean, in fact, this wasn't anti-drugs, this was an advert for crack.
Apparently addicted to a different sort of crack was golfing legend Tiger Woods, one of several high-profile sports stars who got caught tit-handed this year. Woods had had sex with so many women he had to issue a worldwide apology comprehensively broadcast live on Sky News in unflinching, uncomfortable and apparently unending detail.
I want to say to each of you, simply and directly, I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
You know, I'm detecting a slight air of penitence from this.
I once heard, and I believe it's true, it's not what you achieve in life that matters, it's what you overcome.
Or come over in your case.
I know people want to find out how I could be so selfish and so foolish.
Yeah, that, and they want to know how come you didn't squirt yourself inside out. Of course, what Tiger is actually doing here is addressing his sponsors who require him to fall on his pork sword because they need someone spotlessly clean to hawk their goodies.
In fact, it's surprising no one capitalised on it by creating a range of apologising Tiger dolls.
I am so sorry.
Before long, the incident had become an advertising opportunity, with Tiger appearing in a bizarre and sombre Nike commercial in which the voice of his dead father could be heard quizzing him.
I want to find out what your thinking was. I want to find out what your feelings are. And did you learn anything?
Yeah, never mind did you learn anything. Did you take any photos? Of course, ironically, it's possible that Tiger used to imagine his dead father talking to him to delay orgasm.
One thing you couldn't get away from this year on TV was ridiculous physical motion.
Jigging was everywhere, as if some North Korean scientists had snuck in and unleashed a dance virus. From the gaudy enthusiasm of Sky's Got to Dance to the gittish street jerking on Britain's Got Talent, it seemed everyone wanted to be a singing, dancing twit. I blame Glee. Yeah, that's right, Glee, a sugary kitten fart of auto-tuned karaoke nothingity the nation quickly clasped to its easily impressed bosom.
What you need is a big strong hand to lift you to your higher ground.
Essentially an ironic reboot of the Mickey Mouse Club, it centred on the can-do adventures of a yodeling clump of high school outcasts, all of whom were suspiciously screen-friendly, taut-bummed outcasts.
And that's basically my problem with this. These people are not proper outcasts. Proper outcasts don't groove along to feel-good pop songs. They sit in the corner silently plotting revenge on people like this.
Apart from a brittle turn from Jane Lynch as a domineering PE teacher, it was almost indistinguishable from the stuff it was meant to be parodying, complete with inspirational homilies and can-do bollocks.
I had to find this new person inside of me. The one that was okay with what happened.
I just feel so bad about myself.
And that guy who made all those bad choices, who ignored the signs, he's gone.
What an exhausted nation needed after that was a good old-fashioned fly-on-the-wall documentary about everyday people doing everyday things. Pineapple Dance Studios was Sky's gritty, unflinching look at life at the sharp end of absolutely sod all squared, and it was narrated impossibly by Michael Burke.
Monday morning, an artistic director, Louis Spence, is getting ready for another hard day in the office.
Hearing Burke's voice meant that you kept expecting it to suddenly cut to a starving child with flies round its face, whereas what you actually got was somehow more harrowing than that.
Twirling at the centre of this vacuum was obligatory flamboyant docu-soap show-off Louis Spence, the sort of lisping, mincing caricature that Richard Littlejohn is presumably assaulted by in his nightmares and confused by in his dreams.
God, it's like an episode of Britain's Neediest Man. If you look away from him for 1 minute, he will die.
There's nothing wrong with working in Sainsbury's or Asda Packet. There's nothing wrong. But imagine me down the aisles. Right, get baked beans. I mean, you know, it's not going to happen, is it?
Yeah, I know he's one of those great TV characters, but imagine trying to, I don't know, talk to him.
The song and dance continued into March with the launch of Over the Rainbow, a Saturday night audition epic which saw a studio full of wannabe budding Judy Garlands battle it out in front of Charlotte Church, Albert Square, Terence Stamp and Admiral Akbar in a bid to don the ruby slippers.
Basically, it's teenage girls singing to impress a lord. It's like a scene from I Love 1784.
Although, given the way he looks at them, it's actually more like a scene from Jaws. Each week, it basically boiled down to a tantalising sing-off between the two lowest-placed Dorothys.
Wasn't it good? Wasn't it fun?
Oh, it's rank hypocrisy, really. You know, it's apparently fine for the state-funded BBC to make two British teenagers fight to the death on Saturday night television, but when I get two Eastern European ones to do it in the privacy of my own Thunderdome, the nanny state steps in, and before you know it, I'm the South London monster.
Each week, one Dorothy was dismissed in a bizarre cult-like sequence where they handed back their shoes to their lizard handler, then flew away on the moon while the remaining contestants desperately tried to mask their delight with tears.
Oh, if Judy Garland could see this, she'd thank God she was drunk.
April was a good month for things gushing out of the ground. First, an Icelandic volcano threw a geothermal shitfit, causing a cloud of holiday-ballsing ash to drift across northern Europe. Thousands of planes were grounded, causing outbreaks of amusingly unfocused xenophobia during live news reports from airports.
You only found out when you got to the airport. You didn't know in your hotel.
No, I hate Iceland!
So
I hate Iceland!
Meanwhile, down in the Gulf of Mexico, the Deepwater Horizon oil rig did a passable volcano impression and blew up, damaging a wellhead down in the SpongeBob department, which started vomiting a horrifying amount of crude oil into the sea.
Tony Hayward, played by Michael Sheen, because that's how fast the turnover is these days, quickly became the Fred Goodwin of oil and made a dick of himself in Congress, where he was interrogated by Lon Chaney and the cast of a 30s horror film.
Many Americans were distinctly unimpressed with the whole affair, none more so than US comic Doug Stanhope, who joins us now for a bit of fun complaining.